anyhow, all this time, as I told you before, well, I was working down in this airline service back down there in North Africa. And although during that first part of that Italian invasion and the work that was going on over there, well, my outfit didn't take much part in it. Now, I remember one time that we went over to Anzio. They had established a beachhead there at Anzio, and I flew over there one night. There was about 3 airplanes in the flight, and in my airplane we had some Jeeps and some guys from them. They were ground soldiers, but we got over there, this airfield we were supposed to land at, and man, there was bullets coming up there, trace bullets, just thick as flies, just shooting up there everywhere. And well, you know, bullets are bullets. They was ours or theirs. Well, they were still bullets. So the pilots, they decided they couldn't land there. Well, we come on back, and of course we made that mission there, but we didn't do much good. That's the only time that I really took part officially in that Italian deal. Now, they were fighting all over in there. General Mark Clark had come on in there with his 5th Army. They landed there at Salerno, and that was sort of south of Naples, sort of around a little jetty out there. And they were coming up the countryside there slowly but surely. But during most all this time, well, our outfit was sort of scattered out someplace else. And actually, I don't guess we were over 75, 80 miles from that coast of Italy right there. But I sort of think that, I don't know, sort of like Sergeant Marley D. Warren used to tell me, he said, now, boy, you keep a good, clean, tight airplane. But during the time we was over in India, well, June 6, 1944, you know, they started the Second Front over there in France, out of England. And I believe now, if I'm not mistaken, and on the same day that the Allies captured Rome. And then when we got back over there a couple of weeks later, well, everything up to Rome and probably a few miles north of there was secure in Allied hands. And I remember when we got back, well, we were stationed there in Sicily still. But we flew over to Rome one day, and we was going over there. The pilot said to look for a place to live, see if we could get some quarters and everything over there. And we landed at the airfield out there at Rome, I guess maybe 7, 8 miles out of Rome. And Ciampino, I think now that it's city airport, commercial airport there for Rome, Italy, but then it was just a big Air Force deal. Well, we landed there, and well, we spent the night, and of course we went uptown, and we flew back to Sicily. And it wasn't a few days after that that we moved our outfit over to Rome, Italy. Now, I'll say I didn't do any flying over there in occupied Italy before we took it, but I did. I managed on about half a dozen different occasions, and the way it happened was like this. I was on that airline flight down there, and about once a week every 10 days, we had hit Sicily there, town of Catania, over there on that eastern coast, and you'd fly in there to spend the night. And generally the way it worked was that the pilot told me, he said, now, Sergeant, we'll take off in the morning, say at 8 o'clock if it's not raining. If it's raining, well, don't show up about 1 o'clock. And you know how it was. We'd been in town all night, running around, you know, drinking and dancing and cutting up and all that. You know, just paternalizing with the population, which, you know, you wasn't really supposed to do, but it sort of seemed like a friendly thing to do. And, well, anyhow, a lot of times, you know, you wake up in the morning and say about 6:30, 7 o'clock. Take you a little bit of time to figure out where you were. Finally, you look out the window, you know, and it sort of looks sort of cloudy. It looks like it might rain, it might not rain. So you just don't know what to think about it if it actually wasn't raining. Well, you know, Carl Sellers, my radio man, we try to get ourselves back out there. And generally, in cases like that, it'd probably start raining just about the time you got there. Anyhow, you get out there. You get the airplane already for a daily inspection. You know, get it ready to go. Pilots didn't show up pretty quickly. I'd go back to the operation office where all the business taken care of. And a lot of times, I'd see the pilot in there. Sometimes the co-pilot would be with him, sometimes he'd be right by himself. And on a number of occasions like that, well, he'd kind of bad weather, this and that, he'd call his flight off, and actually what he'd done, he'd just come out there to report in and cancel his flight for the day. And a lot of times, his co-pilot didn't come with him. He'd be waiting for him, you know. And after he'd get out there, well, they'd, all them guys in operation there, they'd give him a long, sad story. Lieutenant or captain, whatever it might be, said, how about you making just a short flight over here, maybe we're at Toronto or someplace like that. We got some people we got to pick up. We got some people we got to take over there. There's always something to do, you know, and never enough airplanes. And well, about a half a dozen times, I remember they just talked the pilot out of it. He'd asked me, he said, "Sergeant, you want to go in there? You and just be me and you and Carl most of the time. I'd fly co-pilot." And yeah, I go, well, I guess we made a half a dozen flights over there. We'd most of the time, actually, we'd just go over and pick up some refugees, some civilians, most of them just kids, babies, women, and bring them back over to Sicily. And generally, you know, before you took off to go over there, you knew about what the deal was, and it was sort of just a humoring thing, and we was always glad to do it if the weather wasn't really too bad. Well, finally we moved our whole outfit over there to Rome, Italy, and I'm telling you, boy, that was a town. That was a real town. I mean, all that historical stuff around there, you know, the Vatican, the Colosseum, and all of that, and all of those beautiful women, I'm telling you, it's right along there on the line where the northern Italians, you know, a lot of them were blondes, light-skinned people, especially the women. And the southern part of Italy they were sort of dark and greasy, you know, they sort of intermingled in there, and boy, it was some of the most beautiful women in the world alone. Anyhow, well, you know, that was just something. That was one thing. Of course, we had work to do, and long about that time, we started training for this invasion of southern France. And we trained for that, I guess about a month. You had all airplanes fly over some big old field over there. And long about an hour before dark every evening, all them paratroopers start coming in there. And full combat equipment, boy, they'd have everything with them. And you'd load them up on them airplanes, put all their equipment up under the belly of the airplanes on them bomb racks where we dropped them out, you know. They had parachutes on. And you'd take off. Well, you didn't know if that was the real thing or not. The first time, you thought it was. Didn't nobody ever tell you nothing in the Army, you know. And you'd take off there, and you'd fly around sometime 3 or 4 hours, and then first thing you knew was you landed right back there at your base, and all them paratroopers, they got out and got in their trucks and left. Then the next night, well, it was the same thing. And you'd go a different direction. You'd fly a while, and you'd come back. Well, they say the reason for that was, you know, they're just trying to confuse those Germans over there. Every time you take off and go one direction, they'd either move troops in or out of there, and you'd sort of keep them on the go and keep them guessing everything. And, well, finally, on the night of the invasion, you know, you'd take off, and you'd fly certain times, certain heading, and then the pilot had some orders there in the envelope. He'd open it up, read them, and either tell him to go back to base or give him a heading and tell him what he's going to do. Well, the night of the real thing, well, evidently we got our orders to go in, and we had some British paratroopers in our airplane that night, and we flew over the southern coast of France, and we dropped those troopers just before daylight. I remember when we flew in, of course we flew in over the water, and you could look down there and see this whole army of boats, the main invasion force, coming in. Lord, they were just strung out there for miles and miles, just as far as you could see, and it's heading for that coast of France there. But we first went in, they were quite a ways out, and so we went on in, and we dropped our paratroopers on the city of Le Mans, southern France. They've got a Pontiac car named after it now. You know, they have those big speedway racetracks over there. Well, that's where we dropped our paratroopers, and we dropped when we got out, and that was, I've often said that the two most beautiful sights that I ever saw was within about 50, 75 miles of each other, and that was one of them, not dropping the paratroopers, but when we dropped them, just getting daylight, and you went down pretty low, you know, just low as you could, and then coming up out of it, you sort of scattered, everybody sort of scrambled, and we come out of there and got back over the water. Well, as far as I know, we just right by ourselves, our airplane, but gradually we'd start big group, and here'd come another airplane in, you know, and take its place in formation, then another, and long you flew, the more that we'd come in, and finally we was flying along in formation, heading back to well, we was gonna stop at Sardinia to feed fuel, and we did. But we was flying along there, and I was counting them airplanes, and we had all of them but one. Now one was missing, and of course we was flying along there, radio silence and everything, and didn't nobody knew which airplane it was, and you know, everybody was our friend and our buddy, and more than brothers actually, but there he was, and flew along there a long time, just one of them missing, and well, that was a big disappointment, and I'd get up in this bubble up there on top of the airplane, a little astrodome up there, sort of stuck out on top of a glass bubble that you could see. You get up there and look around and see, and I was up there. Finally, saw a speck way back over there, coming toward it. And, well, you hoped you didn't know, but you hoped it was there. Finally, it gets closer and closer. And finally got up there and come on up and sort of buzzed around in front of us, sort of to check it, maybe. And you see that yellow stripe all around his tail. That was what our squadron had on the identifying yellow stripe around his tail. And he buzzed around there, and then he fell into formation. There was. I'm telling you, it was a wonderful sight. It was just a wonderful sight. Now, this other most beautiful sight I was telling you about was the sun setting over the ocean over there on that island of Capri. We had a rest camp over there. It was a big old island out there, right off from Naples, Italy, and been going down through history. You know, it's a big resort for the kings and queens and playboys and everything like that. But the Air Force had a rest camp over there, and I spent a week over there one time. And I was up there on top of that hill one night, one evening. It was cloudy, and the sun was sitting over there on that Mediterranean Sea, and I'm telling you, I just couldn't describe how pretty it was. Now, after we dropped those paratroopers over there at Le Mans, we refueled there on Sardinia and flew back on over there to Italy. And we hooked onto a glider. It was an American glider, one of the small ones. And I remember in it there was had a Jeep and a glider pilot and a sergeant. And they had this Jeep, you know, they had a machine gun up on top of it, turn. And everything they needed to be a good little two-man fighting outfit. Well, they had it there in that glider. And we pulled it back over there. And by that time, we got back to the coast of France over there, the Navy had done landed with the troops. And they were just spread out over that beach there. I mean, miles and miles, as far as you could see. And naturally, it done got daylight. And we flew in our ways, and this glider pilot, he unhooked himself and went on down. We dropped tow rope and flew up the coast there. And we could see those Germans pulling out their truck convoys and everything. And Americans right in behind them. Of course, we didn't take any time to circle around, you know, and take a real good look or a sightsee or anything like that, but just what we happened to look down and see. But we flew, on up that coast and took in a lot of what was going on. Then we cut back over and went back to Italy again. And that time we got a load of newspapers, Stars and Stripes, daily paper. Had some quartermaster guys in there, and we flew back over there then. And we went all up and down that coast, kicking them bundles of them papers out. Yeah, where you'd see some troops concentrated, but you'd kick a bundle of them papers out, and it had a big headline there, how the Allies had hit the beaches at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, actually, it was closer to 8. But it made pretty good read, didn't it? And I guess kicking them newspapers out is about important was dropping in paratroopers, because we had to do it, and there was still a lot of going on around there on the ground and out there in that water. The Navy was sitting out there bombing in town. Well, we went on back to Italy, and we got that over with. Well, the American armies went up through southern France there in pretty good shape. They hooked up with that other bunch, you know, that come in from England there, and they would get a job done going on up through there. And we moved our outfit over to southern France, just the airplanes and small units, you know, our kitchen and small tech supply and things like that. Just like always, our main squadron, they stayed back here in Rome. But we went over there, and we were supplying those armies that were going up through there. And we were stationed at a French airfield there, the town of Estris. I think the French people pronounced it a little bit different, but that's what we called it. And we'd fly down to this port town of Marseille, and we'd load up down there, and then we'd fly on up just wherever they wanted to carry the supplies. We saw all kinds of supplies. We'd hit them big towns of Lyons and Dijon, and we spent a couple of nights in Paris. And along about that time, most of the fighting, they drove the Germans back just about up there to Luxembourg, almost. And we were hauling supplies up in there, but at the same time, I got plenty of time to look around the countryside and see what was going on. And down there in that part of France, there was a lot of old ruins of old buildings and things like that, you know, that the Roman people had left there centuries ago. And it was a real interesting part of the world over there. Now, our airplane stayed over there in southern France till the early part of December 1944. We was hauling supplies up far as Luxembourg. And then on the way back, after we get up there and unload our supplies, we'd put these litter racks up in our airplanes. We had what we call litter racks that they would hang on hangers in the airplane, and you could put a hospital cot on each one of them, and we could carry about 12 wounded patients. We'd carry them back to the hospital, and we'd fly them back down there to North Africa, down around Oran. There's some big hospitals down there, and as well as I remember it, after we unloaded our freight and everything, and got everything stashed by and everything, we'd start back to, well, they'd come out with these patients, and about half of them would be German, and half of them American, but it really didn't make any difference what they were. They were just boys, all shot up, you know, and he had a couple of nurses on there, Army Nurse Corps, and they went with them. Well, man, we done that work until, I guess, maybe the early part of December, and I went back to the squadron. I really don't remember if all of the airplanes went back or not, but we probably left some of them over there. They might have all come back, but after I got back to the squadron, I didn't stay down there very long. They sent my airplane, just one airplane. They sent it over to on the eastern coast of Italy to a big airfield, a Bari, and we were attached to an air-sea rescue outfit there that was flying around there around that Adriatic Sea, and just across that over in Yugoslavia. Now, the reason for that was that these big bombers coming out of North Africa, and they were based in southern Italy then. They were flying over there into Germany and Romania and those places over there, and they were bombing, and they were getting all shot up, and a lot of them on the way back, a lot of the crews would have to bail out different places on the way back, mostly over in Yugoslavia and over there in that water, and some of them might get back to Italy. They had a big what's called a big boneyard airfield up there that it was just for crash landings of these airplanes if they could finally get back that far. And what we was doing, we was attaching this outfit. I really don't know why they sent us over there, because right at that particular time, well, they started that Battle of the Bulge over there in France, and I was over in eastern Italy at that time with this air rescue outfit, and we'd fly around over the water out there, and a lot of times some of these guys had bailed out in the water. You know, they had rafts, rubber rafts, and we would spot them and kick them out some more stuff, some more flies, maybe another raft, something like that, or just circle around till some more help got there, something like that. And we flew over into Yugoslavia, and we land over there, and I pick up these guys that bailed out over the land out there, and this O.S.S. agents had gathered them up, and these people had protected them. They had made some kind of a little makeshift landing field, and we land in there and pick these guys up and bring them back. And on those flights, we always had an escort. It is P-38s. There'd be maybe 14, 16 of them. They'd be buzzing all around you all the time. Of course, they couldn't throttle back and keep up with you. They'd just be barrel rolling around you, just circling around you all the time. But they were right with us all the time until we got back to that Italian coast. Well, we had a hard time getting away from that job. It was just, I think, more politics than anything. I don't know why. I think those pilots, I had a pretty high-ranking crew over there. I think they were just sort of fizzing around, you know. Might have been trying to keep out of trouble over in France. I don't know, but they thought that they could have run into a lot of over there. But it was real interesting, you know. It's something we hadn't done before, and I think they were just sort of dressing up as service records.
I'm going to do some editing right here. Somehow or another, I failed to mention our flight over to Athens, Greece, soon after we returned from France. Mr. Churchill made a visit over there later on, and we took some of his advanced personnel over there. Now, the guerrillas had just drove the Germans out of that sit-in part of the country over there and had started fighting among themselves. Well, I spent a night in Athens running around, and there wasn't any Americans over there except the guys in our flight, about 4 or 5 airplanes. And there was a garrison of British soldiers there, and I guess that I was the only American on that side of town. But boy, I really saw it all, and I wish they had time to tell you about it.
Place been here. We went into Belgrade that night, and I remember the first thing I saw when I got in town there, driving down the street. Of course, we was in a Jeep. There's a big sign up there. It said, "Wind so white." You know, they'd washing powders, big neons, and it was pretty modern everywhere back in those days. Well, as it turned out, we went in there and we stopped someplace there at some kind of custom house or something. There'd been some kind of misunderstanding that of course, we'd unloaded that engine out there at the field, you know, and we were just browsing around then, the pilots and us. But there'd been some kind of misunderstanding after we got in there. They figured that we wasn't supposed to be there, and they made us go back. We didn't get to see none of town, but anyhow, we got into Belgrade, and well, finally, it got sort of, we'd done about everything over there. And started doing it all over again, you know. And the pilots, they said they'd go back to squadron. And the weather was pretty bad right down the middle of Italy. It was sort of a high range of mountains there, and it was generally bad weather over all the time. And those airplanes of ours couldn't fly very high. And I remember there for about a week. Well, every morning we'd start out to go back to squadron, and we couldn't get through that weather. And we just have to turn around and go back, and we'd do then whatever they wanted us to do. But finally we made it back to the squadron, and by then that was getting over into about the last week of December in 1944. Well, I remember when we got back to Rome, we flew in there late one evening, and I probably took off to town. I had some friends over there. They hadn't seen a good little while. I went in there and spent the night. And old Marshall taking care of everything out there at the field. And I got back the next evening, and I just happened to go by the orderly room. I never did have much business around the orderly room, because that was the first sergeant's department. And he was our boss, first sergeant. He was the big boss, but actually I worked for the line chief down there on the line. And we had these, what we call combat crews. And it was sort of an understanding that if we kept out of the way of the first sergeant, well, he'd sort of keep out of our way. And we didn't have to report to any roll calls, reveille, or taps, or anything like that. We didn't have to buck a chow line. We just walked right to the head end. And very seldom had any business in the orderly room. But that evening, I walked by there. You know, I hadn't been around there a good while. And I saw a note on the board, Sergeant Harris report to the personnel department. Well, I didn't go on down there that evening. I didn't know what it was all about, but our personnel department was one of the best parts of our outfit, because we had some guys in there, and they would keep up with what we was doing over there in that war, and they'd write up these articles and send them back to your hometown newspaper. You know, they'd send them to the Elbert paper in Arkansas, was it 3 or 4 times, and anything that the outfit done that you was involved in, they'd give you a pretty good write up. They were pretty good guys and square, and I liked them, but still it was the the business part of our organization personnel, you know, they're in charge of the people, the soldiers. So the next morning I got good rest and everything, and I went down to the personnel office. Well, I went in that office that morning, and a sergeant sitting there at his desk, and I forget what his name was. He was a fellow from California, and I can see him just as plain if I was right there today. I went in there, and he got up. He said, Harris, have a seat right there. He said, I got some news for you. I said, okay. He said, now, I got some good news and I got some bad news. He said, it might be bad news and it might be good. He said, I just really don't know. It might all be bad, it might all be good, but I'm just going to leave it up to you. And he had his desk all cleared off there. And he had 2 sheets of paper laying on his desk, one on one side and one on the other. He said, now come around here, I want to show you. And he said, now, I'm going to explain a little bit about this sheet here on the right-hand side. He said, now, you know your flight chief, Master Sergeant Tucker. I said, yeah. He said, Tucker's going home. He said, we didn't cut his orders. And he said, already relieved from duty. And he's going to be leaving tomorrow night, go down to Naples, go home. And he said, the line chief telling me we need a new flight chief. And he said, you're up for it. He said, you're next in line. He said, boy, what do you think about that Master Sergeant Harris being flight chief? And, well, you know, I knew pretty well about everything. I'd get, first right off the bat, I'd get my pay cut about $75 a month to get knocked out of my flying pay. But still all in all, you know, that's progress. So I said, well, now, you said something about some more news. I said, now, I don't know if this is the good part of it or the bad part of it. He said, well, I don't know either. But he said, now, on the other side of this desk, look right here. And he said, now, all it requires is your signature down at the bottom of it. On either paper. He said, I'm going to put you in from that side. No, I said, you got to sign in paper. And he said, now, these papers here, said, you got to sign them too. Said, read them over. Well, I started reading there, and it started out, you know, like how Army stuff is, boy, starting out ahead for us and everything. Finally got down, it named off a bunch of men there. It must have been 50, 75 of them. Finally, come on down there, Tech Sergeant Charles E. Harris. It was travel orders. It was travel orders from Ciampino Airport in Rome to the airport down there in Naples, Italy. And then it said by Army conveyance, final destination, United States of America. I tell you, boy. Now that, you wouldn't know whether it was good news or bad news. Well, there you was, see. On one side, you're going to be promoted right up to the top. And on the other side, you got a chance to come home. Well, it didn't take me long to think about it and think it over. I'd always, before I had sort of figured out, you know, that I didn't ask for this deal, and I was playing them right down the line. And I'd done everything they asked me to, or told me to. And if they was going to send me back home, well, I wasn't going to argue with them one bit in the world. In fact, boy, I just almost jumping for joy. And, well, that was a situation I run into right there that day. Well, I signed the sergeant's little memorandum there, and I took that day and the next day, getting up my stuff, telling everybody goodbye. And I'm telling you, it was a wonderful feeling. Just to know that you was going home. And it seemed to me like right in the middle of the war, the Germans were still over there, almost in France, and no telling what was going on over there in the Pacific. We hadn't even got up into Germany yet, and of course, you could tell what the outcome of it was going to be. But the war was still real, and right there in the middle of it, United States Army just say, Charlie, you've done your job. We're sending you home. And I'm telling you, that was a wonderful feeling. And really, I did feel like it, that I'd done my job, because I hadn't shirked anything, and I'd done everything that anybody with any authority and sense had told me to do. And it was just a wonderful thing. And in our outfit like that, when a man went home, he could, the outfit would fly you down to port embarkation, which was in Naples then. And they'd fly you down there in an airplane, and you could, a man could pick his whole crew. You had a whole crew take you down there, even a navigator. And, in the Army Air Corps, a navigator, all they got in was just 3 hours a month, just barely make the flying time, on a parachute drop they always went. But it was a real treat. You got to pick your pilot and co-pilot and your navigator and aerial engineer, crew chief, radio man. And, boy, they fly you down there in style and put you out. He'd buzz the field, which is strictly against regulation now. Big town like that, but they done it. Well, they took me down there, and people were gathering. And we went out to this place where they deprocessed us. I remember it was out there on top of a great big old mountain. I guess they called it hill out there, right on the Bay of Naples there. And it was sort of an old fort or a palace or something like that, big old nice building. And we stayed around there 2 or 3 days and got everything straightened out, And then it took us down there to the docks where we'd get on the boat. I remember I got out there, got out of that truck and walked up that gangplank. That great big old boat sitting there, Man, I'm telling you, it must have been 4 or 5 blocks long. I left up there. I see on the side of it, U.S.S. Westpoint. Well, that was the same boat I came over from. That's when I left New York Harbor on almost 3 years before that, and I was going back on the same boat. Well, I got on it. There had been some changes made. They tore out a lot of the staterooms and things like that. Put up bunks, but it was still about the same. Well, I believe we got going, and I believe the next morning we started steaming out of the harbor there and went on down through the Straits of Messina. And we had a couple of escorts. There was maybe 3 of them. You could see one way out in front of you and one sort of back behind, and then once in a while there'd be one over on the right-hand side of you. Sometimes one over on the left-hand side of you. So they was escorting us down through there, and we went on down to Gibraltar, and we steamed into the harbor there just before dark one night. And boy, there was a lot of boats around there. There must have been hundreds of them. But we dropped anchor there, but we didn't stay very long. Just a few hours. It seemed like maybe they'd just been waiting on us. And I remember it was sort of a moonlight night. It was along about the 1st of January, 1945. Well, we started moving again. And we was moving out of that harbor. And just had boats all around us, everywhere. Well, I went out on the deck out there. I sat out there on the lifeboat just like I did when I went over and watched things. But we moved out of that harbor, and we was right in the smack middle of a big convoy. And boy, I thought, well, here we go again, another 13 days zigzag.